We are live.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, everyone. We are live. We're talking about how to quit your VA business today, and I am so excited to be joined by the one and only Thais. Thais, if you
Hi.
guys don't already know her, I'll give her an opportunity in a moment to introduce herself and her business. But she has an amazing business catering specifically to those in the roofing industry. She's built her business dramatically, is going to hit $500,000 this year in sales, and I'm so excited. On track to do $1 million next year, and today we're going to be talking about what it looks like to quit your virtual assistant business, right? And we're not talking about
Yes.
throwing in the towel, throwing it all away. We're talking about, hey, if you are doing one-to-one services as a virtual assistant, how do you grow? Because if you have been doing one-to-one services for a while, you're likely starting to feel a little burnt out. And so we're going to be talking about how do you handle that? How do you quit your VA business and turn it in for something that is more scalable and, let's face it, less stress on you as a business owner. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm so excited. This is our burnout series. We're talking about what to do when you're feeling burnt out in your VA business. And so today we're going to talk about how to quit it, how to shut it down, right? But don't worry, not about how to completely shut it down. Just as a reminder, every single Tuesday we go live. And for the next 3 weeks, including this week, this is the burnout series. So every single week, for this week and the next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking just about simply how to stop doing just one-to-one services with your VA business. We're going to be talking about how to scale. We're going to be talking about bringing on a team. We're going to be talking about implementing high-end services or niching down and what it looks like to actually build not just a one-to-one VA business, but to build an agency potentially, or a high-end service that is super scalable. So that's what we're talking about in this 3-week series. It's going to be incredible. But before we go any further, I do want to introduce Thais, because Thais is not only a brilliant business mind, but she's also a good friend of mine. Thais and we've known each other, since 2010 or 11?
Yeah, I don't know. I think even more than that. I don't know. It's
Wait, no,
been
2009 is when I moved to Virginia. I moved to Florida in 2004. So we've probably known each other since 2005 or six, right?
yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So Thais and I actually went to college together, and could probably tell tons of stories about that whole experience, but we'll dive into the business part of it so you don't hear all of our late night college stories. That's another live stream. um, so Thais, why don't you just do a quick summary? We're talking today about quitting your VA business, and I know that you started out as a general VA in the Savvy
Yes.
system. And so what did your journey look like going from somebody who was doing those one-to-one services, and what made you make that transition into, um, you know, a scalable business, what you have now? Let's talk a little bit about what your quitting journey looked like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a general VA. So when I started, I was like, if you're alive and breathing and you're a business owner, I can help you. So literally anyone who was breathing, I'd be like, hey, I can help you. Like my first client was a taco company. And I was like, I can do social media for you. The other one was like a pharmacy. I was like, I can do QuickBooks for you. The other one was like a door company. And I was like, I can do cold calls for you. So pretty much anyone who was breathing and would give me an opportunity, I would do anything that I could administratively for them. But what I quickly found out is one, I didn't like some of the things that I was doing. And number two, I also became like I had so many different things happening all at once. It almost seemed like chaos in my brain. Like there was not a consistent like pattern to everything. And so 5 months into having my VA company, I said, you know what? I really like the construction area. That's kind of my background. I found a client that it was like my ideal client, which was a roofer. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go full in, learn all the things about roofing, and let's just offer the services to roofers. So So yeah, that was my journey of how I went from just being, a general VA, like burnt out, exhausted. Like I was like, I went from, quitting my Fortune 500 company to working a lot of hours to now owning a virtual assistant company, working a lot of hours. It's like now I work 24 hours a day versus 10. So it's just I was totally burned out. So it was one of the best decisions I ever did. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I quit my VA business and went to a much more scalable process, niching down.
Yeah. And you built a team too. I think that that's a really important part. I think a lot of times people, they feel really stuck in their business. And for you found that a lot of the way out of feeling like you were doing it all was to literally just not do it all, right? Was to start hiring a team. So what was your very first hire? I'm curious about that.
Yeah. So my very first hire was, my very first client was the taco company, which I was doing social media. I thought I was going to love doing their social media. Found out I like doing my own social media for myself, but absolutely despise doing it for anyone else. So that was actually my first hire. I was like, well, I don't want to lose out on these $500. So let me hire a friend that kind of can do this, that doesn't know how to do it either, but she kind of wants a side gig. And I was like, hey, do you want to do this? I'll pay you this amount of dollars. So she got paid for that. And then I got paid for not doing it. So that's kind of my first team member was that.
Yeah. And once you have that first team member that you're like, oh, wow, I can like pay somebody else and still get paid while they're doing the work. It's like this light bulb moment, like this, like, I know that's how it was for me. I was like, okay, we've got something here, right?
Yes.
Yes, 100%. So here's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about, for anybody listening here, if you are potentially ready, we want to let's talk through some of the signs of, are you ready to quit your VA business? And by quit your VA business, we mean, are you ready to potentially stop doing just general VA work and to niche down to a specific service, or to niche down to a specific industry, or maybe you niche down to an industry and a service, and we'll go through that. For those of you, after we talk about this, if you're like, oh my gosh, yes, like I've been doing general VA work, I have a few clients, but I am really, really ready to scale my business in a way that is not actually going to be more work and make me be more burnt out, but in a way that is actually going to give me some time freedom back. If that's something you are wanting, we do have a special webinar training coming up, but you do have to apply. So it's called 6 Steps to Scale. And we're basically going to be walking you through this 6-step process that we have to help you scale your business beyond just yourself. So we are talking about how to come up with a high-end service offer, how to get visibility on that offer, right? How to market a high-end service, because it looks a little different than marketing just your one-to-one services. We talk about how do you run the internal operations of a scalable service-based business, right? How do you take a service and actually make it into like a product, right? That is scalable and repeatable for multiple clients, so that it can grow without you being the missing cog, right? And so that is what this webinar training is all about. If that's something you're interested in and you're ready to scale your existing business, you do have to have an existing business in order to apply to it. But if you're wanting to scale your existing business, go to thevirtualsavvy.com/apply, and you can apply to be a part of that 6 Steps to Scale webinar. It's going to be awesome. So let's talk a little bit about like who is ready for this actual scaling piece, because again, you have a business, right? And that's where you were exactly, Thais, is that you had a business, you started getting, just any client that would say yes. By the way, it's totally my recommendation. I'm gonna mute you until we talk, just so, because there's a little bit of background noise. I do think that is like the best way to scale a business, is to start off with just that, or to start a business is just like whoever, right? Like whoever will take the bait. Let me just throw my services out there, because you don't know. We talk about niching down to an industry or a specialty, but we don't really know until you work with someone, right? Like, had you worked in the roofing industry before, Thais, before you actually niche down to specifically roofing?
No, I actually hadn't at all. I've been in the construction world, but never just specifically the roofing. It was not an industry I knew anything about.
So you like had one good client and then you were like, oh man, this could be a thing, right?
Yeah. I was like, let's learn all the things and
Yeah.
let's go after it.
I love that. So the signs that you're ready. Okay. So the first sign that you're ready to actually scale, you got to have an existing business, right? But if you find yourself that you're actually feeling like stuck in your business, so talk to me a little bit of what that meant to you, Thais. Like, what did it mean to be stuck in your own business, where you're kind of like, I don't know, you're the one saying, okay, I just have to do it all and it all depends on me and I don't even have time for thinking about growth, right? Like, is that kind of where you were, and what did that feel like in your circumstance?
Yeah. So, all honesty, like it was not a feeling I had for very long, because I immediately realized first, when you start a business, you kind of got to decide very much in the beginning what type of business you want, right? Like, kind of, and what I mean is this. I would do a lot, like I was in corporate America for a long time, right? And I also would read about the Googles and the Facebooks and all these things. And I knew that there was only one differentiating factor between these businesses, was that they always said, what you do to have a business is you just hire people better than you and then you let them do your magic, right? So I kind of knew that in the very beginning. I'm like, okay, I just got to bring on team members that can do what because I actually don't like doing anything administratively. The only thing I like to do is sell and call. Other than that, I don't like anything. So I knew if I was going to have a business, I was going to be paralyzed if I actually had to do the work. Because if I have to do the work, I'm going to procrastinate. It's just my personality. I'm going to do things late and I'm going to hate it and then I'm going to just quit. So I knew kind of from the beginning, like I really needed to not be stuck doing it. And then the first 5 months, that's what I was doing. I was like doing everything and I hated it. So I would procrastinate on work. I would like pull all-nighters because I would procrastinate on work. I'd be like, why am I doing this? This is ever going to, I had like all these, like, could I really be the owner that I wish to be? Because you get into business for two things usually, right? Financial freedom and freedom of time, which was two things I didn't have really, right? Like I was making money, but I was like, if I calculate the hours, I'm actually the only one working. And it adds up to a lot less money than what I wanted to be making. So anyways, that's kind of like the burnout mode. I was like, wait, I want to be a business owner, like what I hear about, that you can actually like step back, be a real business, like not have to do all the work. And I would always think, if I get sick, will my business go down, right? If I have to go on a vacation, will my business go down? And I was like, and anytime you hear about businesses, really, you want it to be like you're the owner, but it can function without you. And I knew that the only way that I could do that is if I really brought on a team. So that's, for me, it was kind of like the light bulb moments where I was like, this can't be what I quit my job for, right? There is more, and I know it's out there, and I'm going to go after that. I don't know if what I'm saying is.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
No, I think that that's really relatable. I don't know if anybody in the comments has felt that way, but one of the things that I heard you say is that you like found yourself almost like delaying or dreading the work. And I feel like that is one of the signs. And I think sometimes we misread the sign. Like you, and maybe some of you guys are sitting in your business and you're feeling like, like I'm just feeling done with it. Right? Like, I'm just like, and maybe you just started, right? And you're like, I don't really enjoy doing this. And I think sometimes we misinterpret that as I'm not getting joy out of this, so I shouldn't do it anymore. And in a sense, sometimes that is true. Like maybe there's a service or an industry that you're like, no, this isn't my thing, but really dive in, because sometimes you're not wanting to do something can actually just be a sign that like you are good at the thing, you're just bored with it. Or it could be a sign that, man, this isn't your strength, this isn't what lights you up, but something that is your weakness or something that you don't enjoy is actually somebody else's strength and is something that does light them up. So if you are to position your business in a way that you're allowing people to do some of the work that does light them up, and then you get to manage it, right? Like it's a different type of business, and it's a business that is actually scalable. So you being stuck in the business is like, man, I feel that sense. Like when you were saying that, Chase, I heard that you felt trapped, and I don't know if that's been other people, anybody listening here. I know I can raise my hand and felt that way. Like I felt trapped inside my own business. Like I am working harder, making not as good of money as I had hoped. And I feel like I'm so busy with client work that I can't even get out of this place. Like that's a rough place to be in, right? But it's not a place that you have to stay. Like you don't have to stay in that place. And so that's what we're talking about here is like does it look like to pull yourself out of that? What if you quit your VA business, right? What if you quit just I'm going to do one-to-one services and I'm going to be a general VA where it's all dependent on me. And I know, like, I don't know about you guys, I'm an Enneagram 7. So feeling like everything's dependent on me, sometimes I'm like, but what if I'm not okay that day? Like I need not all of the responsibility on me all the time. Right. And I feel that when you have a team, that there is another level of responsibility because like, yes, I am now responsible for other people's pay, but as far as the actual workload, you can so much reduce your workload where it's like, man, I can just now do the things that I'm actually good at, that do light me up. So I'd love to ask this question, then we'll move into the next one, Thais. So we're talking again about 3 signs that you're ready to quit your business. 1, if you're totally stuck in your business. I'd love to hear, because being stuck in your business is I have to do all the things. Nobody else will do them. At the end of the day, my client will not get served unless I physically do it. So I'd love to hear, Thais, and I think that CEO looks different to every person, but I'd love to hear like what your time is mostly spent on now. You go to work on a Monday. What does your day actually look like?
Yeah, so I think we were talking about this kind of before I started. This Monday, I came to the office and I literally looked at what I had to do and I was like, I have nothing to do today. And I literally just went home and, my kids were at school and I just went home and took a nap and like slept. And then I'm like, this is wild. Like literally the company is functioning just fine without me. And this is what I built it for. Right. So right now, what I focus in is just really the vision. So a lot of my time right now is just doing PR. So we're really working on the branding of our company. So all I do is really attend, events or connect with people or attend podcasts or get on podcasts and just start sharing what we do. It's really all I'm doing right now is kind of visionary for that area in our company. And that's about it. And then I work alongside, we've grown to such an amount that now we have like our HR person on our company, which is, she's a long story short, she's awesome. She's on our HR. And then I work with our finance. So just to make sure like that our vision and our finances are in place. And that's really all I focus on right now for the company. I don't really, and then the team has everything else handled.
So talking about the team, so you're ready to really quit your VA business, and it's if you're struggling with one of these 3 things. 1, you feel stuck in your business. The next is maybe you have realized that you need to bring on a team, that you need help, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to do that. But then you're kind of like, well, now I feel stuck because I don't even know who to bring on or how to bring on people, right? Like, what does that even look like? What if it doesn't work out? What if I choose the right person? Tell me a little bit about what hiring a team member looks like for you. And I know that it's different across different businesses. And I can share a little bit of my experience with this too, because you and I were similar in the fact that we both hired very quickly in our business. And I'm a big fan of that. For anybody listening and saying like, when is too soon to hire? Like, I don't think there is a too soon to hire. I think some of it depends on your personal circumstance. Like if you're like, oh my gosh, I need every single dollar that's coming in, like my family financially needs all of this money to survive, then like, okay, build up a little bit of a savings buffer first, if that makes you feel more comfortable. But if you have some leeway, if you're still working a full-time job, or if you're just like not super dependent on the income coming in from your VA services right away, then it's like, I don't think there is a too early. I don't know. Do you agree with that, Thais? Like, do you think there is a too early to hire somebody?
No, I think it's like, it's never, I'm like, if you like hire quickly, studies show, and I said this before and I've learned this too, like studies show that CEOs, right? And that's what you are. You're an owner of your company who move slowly only succeed 50% of the time. And that's like a Harvard case study that came out. They did a bunch of studies on CEOs, success rates, and all that stuff. And it showed that CEOs who move rapidly, quickly, they went like a cheetah, they win 100% of the time. And that sounds scary, but a lot of being a CEO is doing things scared, right? So it's hiring people when you're like, I don't really know. Like a lot of times we're like, we need every dollar. Yes. But if you don't realize, like if you actually hire someone to do that, you're going to have more capacity, more bandwidth to go out and get more clients, which is going to then cause you to have more money coming in, right? So it's kind of having to really get out of the, employee mindset and go into like a real CEO mindset. So yeah, I don't think it's ever too early to hire on a team member.
No, I totally agree that. I think that's really interesting about the CEO study that you said. I think a big part of that, it's not that people who move fast fail any less. Like in fact, you're probably failing more than the person who's like moving slowly, right? But
100%.
But you're failing fast. And so you're failing fast, getting up, trying again, had a win. Oh, another fail. All right, pick myself up from that one. Move again, have another win, have another fail, right? Where this person, the slow person, is still so scared of the first fail that they haven't moved at all, right?
Yeah.
So it's literally about that moving quick enough and making decisions and just doing the thing scared, like you said, to fail fast enough to be moving forward. So I really love that. As far as finding people, and I mean, again, in that 6 steps to scale webinar, I'll put the link for it again here. We talk about hiring. One of the 6 steps is cultivated team growth. And like, how do you hire? How do you get your services at a point where you're ready to just systematically hire for them, where people can seamlessly come in and know their roles? Where do you find people? I'll say this, like for me, finding people to hire, I always loved, one, we have an amazing platform now called Hello Savvy, where you can always find people to hire. I started in the beginning, honestly, with just looking to some of like my friends and family. Like the very first person I hired was actually from the college. Do you know the first person I ever hired was Jessica Maupin? Did you know that?
No.
Yes, we both know Jessica. So
cool.
I was in my basement apartment running my little VA agency and doing social media for a client. And just like Thais, I was like, I can do social media, sure. And then like 2 days in, I'm like, I don't like social media. But instead of just being like, I'm not going to offer that service, I said, okay, well, who would enjoy or who would be good at graphics? And I knew somebody that I knew had done graphics at the college that we went to, and that she was a stay-at-home mom. So I hit her up and I was like, hey, could I pay you $12 an hour to create graphics from home? And she's like, yeah, of course. And so I would send her work. She would send me back the graphics. I would pass them on to my client. And that was the very first connection. So I think a lot of times we make it a lot bigger than it needs to be. Like, I'm going to be bringing on this it doesn't need to be a full-time employee. You don't need to guarantee someone hours. You don't need to say, I'm going to send you 10 hours of work a week. Like it literally could be like, hey, stay at home mom friend, when I have extra work, can I send it to you and I'll pay you this much to do it? Heck yes. Like most, especially people who don't want to start their own business. I think a lot of times we end up hiring people who are business owners themselves, which isn't a bad thing. Like I'm not against like VAs subcontracting for other VAs for sure. But I think there's something to be said about if you hire somebody who's starting their own business, that eventually, like if that person is good, which you're going to want to hire good people, their business is going to grow, which means their rates are going to increase and they're going to get more and more expensive as they go along, and they're not going to want to do your subcontracting rate for much longer. And so there is a sense that like if you hire somebody that has their own business, you're probably going to have more turnover hiring those type of VAs than actually just finding somebody, a college student, a stay-at-home mom, right? A friend who just wants to make some extra money on the side. In my opinion, it's a lot better to hire people like that. I don't know if you've had that same experience, Thais.
Yeah, my first hire was one of my close friends. She had just lost a job and she was a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, hey, you want to do social media management? She's like, I don't know how to do it. I'm like, I can show you. And she was like my first hire. And was like, here's $150. You want to do it? She's like, absolutely. And she did it and she was great. And she still does it till this day. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's like how all the hires came about, really. It's just
and that's, and we have whole modules inside of SavvyCircle, like our advanced VA training program, that talk about how to hire and hiring for culture. But we always say hire for culture over skill. Like, I would rather find somebody who I know they've got good work ethic. Like, I hired my sister at one point to blog for me because I'm like, you're a good writer and I know you're a good person because you're my sister. Some people don't like hiring family, and I get that. But like, I know you're a good person. I know you're a good writer. And like, I can teach you to do the things the way that I want it done. So you can, again, skill can be taught, but like that culture fit, somebody who's like, oh yes, like I get this. I believe in the mission of your company, or like, I'm going to treat this work in the same way. Like, I'm going to value it. I'm going to get things to you quickly. I'm going to do excellent work. Like, those values, that's what you're looking for in a subcontractor, more than like somebody who has 5 years experience in running social media. It's like, no, I can teach you. Like, I can teach you how to do the thing, right? Or I'll give you a month of Savvy Vault, right? I'll pay a month of Savvy Vault for you. So yeah, 100%.
That's so funny. My brother does blogs for us, so that's so it works out.
Yay for siblings who can write. I'd love to hear, because we've got 50 of you guys on here watching this. Like, have you felt any of these things before? Maybe you're at that point where you're feeling stuck in your business. You're like, yes, I am in the weeds. I'm in the day-to-day, and I feel so in it that I don't even feel like I can get out. Or maybe you're at that point, you're like, yes, I want to hire, but I don't even know what that looks like. What are the legalities around hiring? Like, I feel stuck. And so these are the different, like, okay, you're ready to scale. What are those like boulders you're going to run into on your way to scaling? You're stuck in the weeds. You can't find people to help you. Or maybe it's number 3, right? Let me know in the comments, 1, 2, or 3, which one you resonate the most with. Maybe you're just plain burnt out. Like, and this is the reality that some of us get to, and it's okay if you're there. Like, maybe you're just tired. I know, like, for us and our family, this has been one of the hardest years of our life. We've had, my father-in-law, my husband's dad passed away this year. My husband got COVID. We had just some personal stuff that really hit us up this past year. Like, it has been just a rough year. Like, and I know it has been for a lot of other people too. So that on top of business, especially you've been doing business for a while and you've kind of been in the weeds for so long, sometimes you can just get tired to the point where you're like, I'm kind of too tired to have vision for my company, right? Like, I'm too tired to see beyond the weeds. And I just want to encourage anyone who is feeling that right now, that like, you're not alone. That feeling does happen in business sometimes. Usually it's a sign, it's a signal for 2 things. 1, you need a break. Like, for most of us, you need to take a real vacation. You need to separate from your business a little bit, right? And maybe if you are still the only one, you haven't hired anyone, like, it's okay to say like, hey, office is going to be closed this Thursday and Friday. You get away, even if it's just one night, and removing yourself from it. It's called white space. It's giving yourself the space and the capacity to see beyond the weeds, to see beyond everything that feels so overwhelming in your business, and really distancing yourself from it. It's like that absence makes the heart grow fonder thing. Like, removing yourself even for a day or 2 from the weeds of your business can help revitalize you. It really can, and help give you vision again. But it's another thing, like, you can't stay there either, right? Like, if your current actions are causing burnout, then just separating yourself and then coming back to your current actions are not going to solve your burnout, right? Like, you have to, one of my previous coaches told me once, she's like, you fight overwhelm with a plan. And burnout for me is usually paired with overwhelm. Like, I'm just like, I'm burnt out and I'm overwhelmed at the same time. And so it's this, what is my plan? Like, what is the plan to get out of this feeling of burnout? So you've got to do both parts. You got to separate, get some fresh vision for your company, and then come back with a new, fresh plan of how you're going to get out of your current situation. Is this something that you've felt in the past? Have you done this kind of, like, have you had to separate yourself from your business, Thais?
Yeah. So there's this saying, and I think a lot of people have heard it. It says, it's okay not to be okay. It's not okay to stay there, right? So it's like, and there's also the 5-minute rule, right? Which is this 5-minute rule of like, you can feel bad for yourself or the circumstances that you're in, but like 5 minutes, and then you need to like get up and go, okay, let's take action, right? Because the thing is, you're gonna feel this sensation of, I feel like this isn't worth it. I feel like this is too much for me, because you're in the weeds, right? And kind of like what you said, we need to step back and have an eagle view look of really what's going on. And when we step back, kind of get away, we're able to go, okay, it's not that bad. Like there's a plan of action here, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to do. And one thing that a lot of people, they say that billionaires and multimillionaires give 99% of everything, that all their tricks away, right? So like you hear them on TikTok, on Instagram, and all these things, they're giving you tons of advice. They give 99% of all of their knowledge and tricks away. And you know why they do that? Because they say that only 1% of the individuals listening will actually take action. So a lot of times, and that for me is always like, I want to be that 1%. So as a business owner, you have to make this decision to go, what percentage do you want to be? So like, this is why I love this program too, because inside, like that, what you guys are going to do at this, that you guys are going to share all these great things, you get so much knowledge. So if you're able to take this knowledge, apply it to when you're burning out, when you feel burnt out, guys, it makes it has like a snowball effect. You're able to move, you're getting momentum, move forward, and all of these things. If that, so kind of just remember, it's okay not to be okay. It's just not okay to stay there.
Yeah.
We have to step back and we have to take action. And it's all about taking action. And I don't know if you've ever felt like you're going to jump off a hill. It's actually a really scary sensation. And then when you jump off, there's like a soft little pillow there, so that it was like not even as bad. So like a lot of this is just taking a lot of leaps and feeling that, okay, I feel burnt out. I need to take these steps. Let me go ahead and take them. It's scary. I'm going to have to hire someone that's really scary. Take the leap and you'll notice it's not that bad. That's kind of how this whole thing goes, So I totally know how that feels, but vocalizing it, having somebody you could share it with is super important, and having community. That's why I love, I love the Savvy.
Yeah, I think you like just explained entrepreneurship in a nutshell, which is essentially like just doing one scary thing after another, and like scary leap. Okay, I didn't die. Scary leap. Okay, I didn't die. It was okay. And like with every single jump, you get more confidence for the next one, right? So like your second hire won't be as scary as your first, and your third won't be as scary as your second, right? And you'll learn and you'll make mistakes along the way, right? Like you will hire someone and it won't work out, and you will have to do your first fire. I promise you, your first fire is scarier than your first hire. I promise you, but it's worth it, right? It's worth it in the end, because you can get away from feeling like you're constantly tied to your business, constantly trapped. I literally remember the day that it hit me. I was, my son was just born. I mean, literally, like, I think I'm like 5 weeks postpartum, and I'm pushing my almost 2-year-old on the swing. So he's in the stroller. I'm pushing her on the swing at the playground. And I looked down at my phone, and an invoice had just been paid. And that entire invoice was work that somebody else did. And I remember just being like, I'm at this park with my kids and getting paid for work I didn't do. Like, now granted, yes, I did marketing. I did a lot of work to get myself to that point. And I won't discredit that, but like, the actual hours that were billed were not work that I did. And I was like, oh, like this can be something, right? Like this is, and this is how businesses are built, right? Their businesses are built by, empowering a team to come alongside you, so you're not the bottleneck of your own business. So that's really what we're going to be talking about in this entire burnout series. So this week, next week and the following week, where it's a 3-part series where we're really just diving into how do you get out of this burnout? Like, how do you identify, yes, I'm in burnout mode, and some of the things we talked about today are some of the signs of it. And then what do I actually do about it? If, again, this is a place that you feel like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm feeling this inside of my business, I really want to encourage you to apply to our 6 Steps to Scale webinar. It's going to be incredible. I'm going to share really quickly just one of the things that we'll be talking about. So when we talk about the 6 steps to scale, you guys, these are the 6 steps that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about how to create an offer that is irresistible. Like, how do you create a high ticket offer that people want? So if you're just charging $30 an hour, one of the parts of subcontracting is that you're going to have to be making enough money to actually afford to hire people, right? So likely if you're, doing $20, $30 an hour for your services, that may not be enough. So what is that high-end irresistible offer that you can actually charge more for? So we talk about that. Seamless internal systems. How do you actually take that offer and put it into systems where it can be easily outsourced to other people? How do you get more eyes on that offer? So before you start building a team, you might need financially people to actually buy your offer. So what are new, fresh ways to market a high-end offer? We'll talk about cultivated team growth, how to actually build a team of subcontractors that can be doing the work not just for you, but alongside you and become a real part of your team. How do you manage a team, which is those efficient internal operations, and then predictive forecasting, which is really starting to dive into the metrics, the numbers, your KPIs, right? How do you identify key performance indicators that will actually scale your businesses? So these are, when we talk about 6 steps to scale, like I said, this is why it's a separate training. It's only for those people who are really ready for this point, because some of you guys are still trying to get your first client. You guys are still trying to put together your initial services. And that's what I want for you. For those of you, I still think that general VA work is the very best place to start. You don't start at these 6 steps. These 6 steps are for the people who are in their VA business, who have been doing this for a while and are saying, man, now that I have some reoccurring income coming from my general VA work, what are the next steps? And that's what this webinar is for. So for anybody who's ready, thevirtualsavvy.com/apply, come check it out. All right, let's do this. Let's move into a Q&A time. I would love to answer questions. If you have questions for me, if you have questions for Thais, we are here. We want to answer your questions. Thank you so much, Thais, for being a part of this call too. I know it's so inspirational for people to be able to hear and just kind of to hear not just the practical, and I know that we're probably going to get some really practical questions here, but what I'm hearing over and over from you is just kind of that CEO mindset of how do I approach my business, not just as a one-to-one service provider, but how do I approach my business from the mindset of I am a business owner, I am a CEO, and I'm going to treat my business as such. And I always love chatting with you because I think that mindset is just really contagious. Oh, you're still mute.
Oh, just something too that I wanted to say. A lot of times, how we're saying like hire in a team, the mentality is like, well, they're going to do work and I'm going to get paid for work I didn't do. Like, it can kind of make you feel a little icky, right? You're like, oh, I feel a little bad for that. But what you have to shift your mindset is that what you're doing is you're blessing people that get to bless their families, their kids, right? Like, it's really what you're doing is you're providing like an ecosystem where people are able to go and have work and they're able to buy things for their families, for go on trips, because you're creating this like place where they can belong. And so it's a really cool thing. Like, you built it. And so they're working and they're part of your team and you're blessing them and they're blessing you. And it's like this beautiful, beautiful thing happening. So it's just like a mind shift of going like, you're creating something beautiful that is going to impact the world versus, someone's doing work and I'm getting paid for that. Like, it's 2 different mindsets, right? And I think that really impacts the culture of your company too, when you look at it that way as well.
I love that so much. It's like one of those unexpected parts of entrepreneurship. Like, I don't think that I realized that when I first started my business. Like, I don't know, any of you guys, when I started my business, I was literally just like, I need cash, and I am a stay-at-home mom. I was pregnant when I started my business, so I was like, I'm not going to go get a full-time job, and especially in Northern Virginia, paying for childcare is going to be just as much as me. Like it's just going to even out. Like I'm going to like literally be working to send my kids to daycare. Like why even do this? Right. And so for me, it was just, hey, I need a way to make money from home. That's literally the reason why I started. And then that unexpected, like once I made money working from home, it's like, oh, and then, well, let me get a team. Like it just seemed like the most logical way to like, you know, more businesses coming in, or I want more business to come in, but I don't have any more hours. I'll grow a team. You know, it was just kind of this, I guess that's the next thing you do. Right. But that unexpected like blessing of it, where you're like, oh my gosh, now that, you know, we have a team of 14 full-time team members plus contractors. I know you have a team of, what are you up to, like 30 people now? Are you like 20 something? I don't even know.
No, we're like at 41.
We're 40. Chase has 41 contractors now, 41 team members. Like that's insane. But it really is. It's this idea of like, that I'm providing for another family, which is really, really cool too. And I think that is the unexpected blessing, and not just providing money, but like providing like a really awesome work environment, you know, because most of the people working for you are probably going to be remote workers. And it's like, oh my gosh, I get to provide the freedom life, that flexible life to somebody else now too, which is just a really cool, fun benefit that I don't know, for me, I never even like thought of my business as that until it was there. And I was like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah, no, we have like 2 people in Texas that had corporate jobs, and they're like moms, and they're like, I got to quit my corporate job just to work full time with you guys, because, and that's a dream. I never thought that would be possible. I get to be with my kids and work from my phone or my computer. And I'm like, so like you guys are, it's like we're building things that are really changing people's lives. So as a business owner, you're pioneering something, you're creating something. Like, again, it's like, I always say ecosystem, maybe it's the wrong terminology, but it's like a system within itself that people within your business and culture are also getting to impact the world in a positive way. So moms and parents being available more to their children, that's such an impact, right? And they don't have to go to their corporate jobs anymore and work from their office and put their kids in childcare. They get to work from home, and that's because you've started a business. So I don't know. So it's been cool to see the constant testimonials coming through. From our team.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Well, you guys, this has been so awesome. I want to thank you again for coming to hang out with us. Again, don't forget that 6 Steps to Scale webinar. You can be a part of it. It's a totally free webinar. So the apply is just to make sure that you're at a point where you're ready for the webinar, right? Like we only want people in the room who are really ready, because this is advanced stuff. This is not beginner. So if you're just looking for your first client, if you are, you know, if maybe you just signed your very first client and you're wanting to scale that, we have a separate training. That's the virtualsavvy.com/BBO. That's become a booked out virtual assistant. That is really emphasis on marketing and getting your first client base. This is for people who already have some clients, right? And you're ready to scale your business. You're ready to like, okay, how do I now introduce a high-end offer, or how do I now start to subcontract and build a bigger team? That's who we want in this room, okay? Because we want you ready at that place, because it can be really overwhelming to be there if you haven't gotten this stuff first. So get your first client, make sure that you are, you know, serving your clients really, really well. And then if you're ready, the virtualsavvy.com/apply, we're going to be doing a 6 Steps to Scale webinar just for you guys. Awesome. Thank you so much again, Thais. I really appreciate you coming live with me. It's always a joy to talk to you. And everybody, we will see you next week for week 2 of our burnout series. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.